Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are talking about the top 10 things that we used in the first 10 days of our son's life. Now, if you watched my nursery tour video, and I will link that below if you have not seen that, you know that we had 1,001 things from baby clothes to baby gear. It was surprising how little of that we used in the first 10 days. So as we were kind of in the thick of things, I was keeping notes on my phone, kind of keeping track of what was really important to us in those first 10 days. So in this list, you're not going to find those things like diapers and maybe bottles, things like that that are kind of no-brainers. This is more of a curated list of some of those maybe more untraditional baby items, things that we really found useful. Maybe they're not even baby items at all, but I couldn't have lived without them in our first 10 days. Before we jump into the list, I want to say a big welcome if you are new here. My name is Jennifer. My husband Nate, our new baby son Walter, and our dog Ruby like to share our home life as well as our adventures in the world. So if you want to consider clicking that like button and subscribe below to follow along with our adventures, I would really appreciate it. It helps to support the channel. And with that, let's dive into our list. So number one on my list is actually a baby tracking app. Now, I was keeping track of things in my head like, oh, we fed him a couple hours ago or whenever, so I knew that it was time that he needed to eat again. But when we went to our first pediatrician appointments and she asked things like, how often is he nursing or how often does he have a dirty diaper? She was met with blank stares. Nate and I could not answer that question. So we quickly tried out a few different apps and we settled on Baby Time for a tracking app. And we really like it because firstly, it allows both Nate and I to have the app on our phone and share an account. So we have an easy handoff between caregivers. If I'm up with him at night and Nate takes the morning shift, he can easily look back and say, okay, he had a dirty diaper at this time or he last fed at this time. So that was really, really helpful for us. The other thing I like about the app is you can choose what you want to track. I mean, there's 1,000,001 things, everything from playtime to sleep time to feedings. You can track pumping time. The sky's the limit, even with a couple customizable options there where you can put in notes and different things like that. You can also take those things that you are tracking and get summaries of them. So we can view a daily average. We can break those out into monthly and weekly and kind of start seeing trends. Currently, we're using it to track those poopy diapers. My son's 12 weeks old now. We had some rocky roads with that, so we're tracking that. We're tracking his sleep and nap time. And it really helps me out to know that I'm hitting a target because sometimes I'll think, my gosh, he hasn't slept much at all today. And then I'll go and look at the app and I'm like, oh, he's on track. He's on target for what he needs to be sleeping for his age. So really like the Baby Time app, but there are a number of them out there. I just recommend getting something to use because we relied on that heavily and still do today at around the 3-month mark. Okay, number 2 on my list is a Snuggle Me lounger. This was huge for us. So our little baby boy slept great. They had kind of a little contoured bassinet in the hospital. Things were great. We brought him home and we laid him down in this wonderful bassinet that we had bought for him and he screamed. No joke, we spent the first couple nights taking turns holding him. We took him into the chiropractor. I knew other mamas that had babies that had adjustments and we thought we would hand him over and our chiropractor would say, oh yeah, this is why he can't lay flat. He's got X wrong with him. Turns out nothing was wrong. When we handed him over, we said, now be careful, he's gonna start screaming as soon as you lay him down. And she said, no, I got this. She laid him in this lounger, we found out later was a Snuggle Me. What it is, it looks like a hollowed out pillow. She laid him down, he was perfectly content. And no joke, I bought a Snuggle Me before we left the parking lot of the chiropractor's office. This thing was a game changer. What it does is it kind of cradles babies, so it simulates them being held. Now, I know some other mamas who babies didn't like it, but our little Walter absolutely loved it. It's not recommended for nighttime sleeping, but it was huge when we just needed to set him down somewhere to do something or to take naps in when we were right there. He felt secure and cradled, and he was good for the first not only 10 days, but few weeks of his life. He did outgrow it. Actually, we were kind of worried when were we gonna have to make this transition, but he kind of let us know like, hey, I'm too big for this. We took it away and he naps peacefully wherever he's at now. So in the first 10 days though, the Snuggle Me was huge. It is just a way to make your child feel safe and comfortable and highly recommend it. The next item is something I actually anticipated needing before we had our son, and it's actually something we purchased and took to the hospital with us, and that is a portable nightlight. So Firstly, in the hospital, there are bright fluorescent lights. They had some dimmable lights, but nothing was really dim enough to sleep through, but still be able to, as a new mama, check to make sure your kid is breathing every couple minutes, which we all do. And two, to just have like a task light there if we need to nurse or change a diaper or something like that. So I really liked having the portable nightlight, not only in the hospital for those things, but to kind of continue that when we came home. And the thing that was great about it being portable, in addition to some of the other nightlights and things that we had that were stationary around the rooms, we could pick that up and bring it from our bedroom where we had our son sleeping to maybe the nursery to do some nursing, rocking in the chair, move it over to the changing table and be able to have that task lighting to change a diaper. It was just really nice. I will link the one that we used below, but I will say that again, I'm filming this as our baby is 3 months old and it is starting to show its age already, right around maybe using it heavily for 6 weeks, and we would leave it on all night. The battery is starting to show some wear. So I don't know that I'd necessarily recommend mine, but I will link it below. If you are somebody that used a portable nightlight and have a good brand, I'd love if you'd share that all with us in the comments below. Okay, next up, not a baby item, but wireless headphones. They were such a lifesaver in those first few days. I had started out nursing my son, and I don't know that I really thought much about it other than we would have that special bonding time and I would be holding my child and gazing lovingly at him and just feeling all the feels. And sure, that did happen, but we had some struggles with nursing. We were tied to this chair for many hours and I thought I was gonna lose my dang mind. So I needed something to sometimes keep me engaged, sometimes keep me awake, as I had a very slow eater and we would barely finish one nursing session before we would need to start with the next. So I didn't want to have something on and have, for lack of a better word, something with like noise pollution. I wanted things to remain kind of quiet. I wanted to have just the AirPods so I could be listening to a podcast or whatever while we were nursing. And kind of an honorable mention here, in addition to podcasts, the Libby app was such a lifesaver for me. If you're not familiar, a lot of public libraries work with an app called Libby. I think there's some other apps out there, but it is great. You can check out library books for free from your local library, and I use that heavily, especially since I've had my son and we've been nursing, doing different things. I'll throw in those AirPods and just have a nice book to listen to. Okay, number 5 on my list, and I've already mentioned it a couple times, is actually this chair. We purchased this chair from Amazon, so again, I'll link this and any other products that I can below in the description box, but I am in love with this chair. I can attest that it comfortably holds me, a baby, and a dog. I can also confirm that it is a comfortable chair to sleep in. All of those things have happened. What I really like about it, we opted to get an electric recliner instead of something that is manual because it was a possibility that I was going to need to have a C-section. And if you saw our birth story, you might know about that saga. If you didn't, again, I will link that one in the description box below. But with having what is really a major surgery, maybe a minor surgery, either way a surgery, I didn't know if I would have the muscle strength to do a manual recliner. So I wanted to cover my bases, and as a safety net, we opted to have something that just has the press button. Not only can I raise and lower the feet, this piece behind me, it's kind of hard to demonstrate while I'm sitting in the chair, but actually can raise and lower too. So it's nice to get a good position as you're nursing and you kind of get a lot of cricks in your neck from burping and whatnot. So love having this. Additionally, it does have a USB charger, so I can plug in my iPhone. So loving all of that. In addition to the reclining, it's a good rocker too. So this has served us really, really well. The brand is Nurture, and I will link it below, but I do not know how we would have gotten through those first days without this chair. Coming in at number 6 is another non-baby item, but that is an insulated water bottle. And I know that's like something you maybe already have or probably already use, but let me tell you where this came in so handy, and I did not anticipate this. It felt like I always wanted to have ice water handy when I was breastfeeding. Nursing mamas, you know you need to keep hydrated, but I would always be walking with my arms full of a baby and didn't want to be walking around with whatever cup of water I needed to have. So these insulated cups, and my husband Nate was a champ at making sure that they were filled with ice water. We kept one in the living room, one in the nursery, and one in our bedroom. So wherever wherever I was. I didn't need to worry about carrying it around. There was always some ice water for me to be making sure that I was getting my water in. Couple of the favorites that I used, I had gotten a Stanley cup. Those have been really popular. I got one at Christmas time. I liked that because it held a lot. I had a 40 ouncer and it had a handle, so it was easy to be able to pick up with one hand, take a drink while I was nursing baby. Honorable mention goes to Bubba. I will link those if I can find them, but I think we've had them now for 5 or so plus years. We got them. Bubba's a brand that Walmart carries, and they're insulated cups. The water actually stays cold for a pretty long time. I just like that one. Doesn't have a handle, but it stays cold, and anything that was keeping it cold and had the straw, I was on board with. So those were huge in those first few days to make sure we stayed hydrated and had water just within arm's reach wherever I was. Number 7 is one that I shared in that nursery tour, but again, I laugh every time I think about how much we use our Oogie Bear Booger tool. So a lot of times I had tried to get things out just using that little booger sucker, snot sucker, I don't know what they call it. And we actually did purchase an electric nasal aspirator too. The electric one worked a little bit better than the bulb, but I still relied more than anything on the Oogie Bear tool. So we still use it all the time. We call it like, hey, can you grab me the Oogie Bear? Our son has bats in the cave like all day long, and I needed something to just kind of get in there quick and dirty and get it out. And I cannot believe how much we use this tool and are still using it today. So it's a strange thing. I'm gonna sing its praises all day long. We really liked having it. So I'm gonna recommend for new mamas, we really use that. Maybe your child won't have the same affliction as our child did to need that constantly, but we relied on it heavily. Plus, I like with this one that we started using it so young that now he is just not even fazed when I go in there with the tool. He kind of thinks it's funny. He'll laugh at me. So hopefully that will continue and I'll always be able to get in there and get things out, and he just doesn't mind at all. Next up is a sound machine. So in our bedroom where our son is sleeping currently, we always have a fan going, which is a great thing because when we were leaving the hospital, the nurse actually mentioned to us that new research shows that having a fan on where baby is sleeping helps to reduce the risk of SIDS. So obviously, as parents that live in constant fear of SIDS, we are doing everything on that checklist and making sure that we have those things implemented, keeping him on his back, and now having that fan running. So we have that for noise in our room, but when we would come into the nursery, it would just be too quiet. And sometimes, you know, we'd need something on while we were nursing, falling asleep in the chair. So in the nursery, we actually have a hatch, and I really, really love this. I love it not only because it has a stationary nightlight, which helped to provide just a little bit of light. It has the time on it, super helpful in the middle of the night, but also it's programmable. So we can change the color of the light along with the sound. And we actually have 5 different presets, and we just kind of like mixing them up. Sometimes I'll do a thunderstorm, sometimes I'll do gentle rain, sometimes just a straight up white noise, each with a different color. I like having those presets. It's really easy touch button to use, so that has been great in our nursery. It didn't come up in the first 10 days, but within the first 4 weeks of his life, we did travel with our son, and for that we had a ROM, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, I think it's a Yoga Sleep ROM portable sleep machine. And this is something that we were gifted from our gift registry, just knowing that we like a little noise, something going on. We took that with us for travel, and it really helps so much with our son's sleep, my sleep, Nate's sleep, that actually when the battery went dead on our last trip, we all woke up and I was like, what is going on? And then I realized what woke us up is that it was too quiet. So we like to have that sound machine going at all times, and I will link both of those below, but sound machine definitely made my list for something that we really wanted within those first few days. And I mentioned there was a clock on the hatch, which was great, but sometimes, let's face it, I mean, it's sitting right next to me here. I'm doing too much to try to get over and even see what time is on the clock. So it was nice to have a secondary clock up on the wall, but wherever you have a clock or whatever it is, clock is making number 9 on my list, because I mentioned that tracking app. I would often not be able to put in the moment where something was happening. So I need to know, oh, like 2:30 in the morning, we changed a poopy diaper. I would need to just kind of be able to glance up at that, or sometimes like if I was nursing, how long was it taking? Because we were like timing our nursing sessions, I could glance up at the wall. So we actually had two. We had the wall clock, and this one, it actually started as just needing something to fill wall space, and I cannot believe how much I loved it. I don't know what I would do without actually both. So having clock or clocks within the nursery or wherever you are, to be able to glance at the time, I really like information. It is soothing to me. So that is my number 9 must-have item. And then rounding out our list at number 10 are sleepers that zip up from the bottom. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about like the no-brainer basics like the diapers and thing. Obviously you have clothes for your baby, but we had a ton of clothes, and I cannot believe how quickly those that zipped up from the bottom soared to the top of my list. When you are doing those middle of the night changes, sometimes you need to do that. You want to keep baby as sleepy as possible. You don't want them waking up. If you zip down and you're getting them half naked, they're gonna be awake. So any clothing that we could find to kind of minimize exposure to the air for baby to get in there, do our business, change the diaper and zip it back up was a win in my book. Now, a lot of people do the gowns too, you know, just sleep sacks, anything that's getting you easy access, definitely is going to be a game changer for you. But I really liked, my favorite was the Cloud Island brand from Target, because they only had a single zipper that started at the top and zipped all the way down. I know we had some that were like a double zipper, they could zip up and zip down. I had a little more trouble getting those started, so Cloud Island was definitely at the top of my list. But like I said, anything getting you access down there is gonna be a win. So that is my list. There are other things, of course, that we used and have used since. But like I said, I was taking notes on my phone in those first 10 days, and this is really the list of things that I was super glad I had, and a lot of things that I didn't expect that I would need. So I hope this list was helpful to you. If there was something that you found that you really relied heavily on in those first few days with your newborn, I would love if you drop me a comment below, let me know what it is, kind of share with our group here. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.